I think she's been exposed as a power-hungry aspirant herself to political power. She is on the cover of Vogue magazine right now.
Yeah.
Why? Because she wants to promote herself. She tweeted out a photo of herself sitting in the president's chair not long ago when he was preparing for the G7 meeting with his chair hanging over the back of the chair. She's not the damn president. Get out of the chair. No one wants you at the G7. No one elected you to lead us politically.
So in this video, Megyn Kelly joins Piers Morgan on his Uncensored show, where she just lets Dr. Jill Biden, have it, right? I mean, as you saw in the preview, she does not like Dr. Jill Biden one bit. And I'm pretty sure that's a consensus across the board from anybody who's been paying attention. They've been propping up this Weekend at Bernie's type character, and the whole world can see it, right? And a lot of people are beginning to feel really sorry for Joe, just for the sake that it seems like he doesn't even want to be there anymore. He just wants to be left alone and enjoy the last bit of life that he has, or at least the parts that he can remember. And a lot of that fault lays on Joe Biden and his family, Hunter as well. And you just got to wonder why they won't let him just go in peace, right? Why he can't just go and sit on the beach and enjoy his last days, his last years, his last bits of his memory on the beach in his hometown and go out as a president. I mean, he finally achieved the goal that he wanted his whole life. He tried so many times and failed of being the Democrat candidate. Finally, this time he got elected. He achieved the pinnacle of his goals. And, you know, it's just right about time that he steps aside. And I hate to say it because I wish he would make it to the 2024 election, because it's pretty much a landslide for Trump, according to all the polls and people's opinion and things like that. For the betterment of our country, we need a strong, swift, fast-thinking, cunning, America-first president running the United States. Let's go ahead and check out the interview.
Who do you think would be the biggest threat to Trump?
Well, it's tough to say. They're eyeballing this Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, and I think he's a no. First of all, he's extremely obese. I'm sorry, but that doesn't play well in politics. And I'm just saying it like it is.
It's true.
As Chris Christie. Plus, he's extremely radical on the trans stuff. His whole family has been funding all this trans insanity and, you know, the surgeries for the minors and all that. So I think he's not going to make it. I do think Gretchen Whitmer is very interesting because she's strong. She's not like Kamala. When you hear her talk, she sounds sensible. She's Midwestern. She's somewhat likable, not to Republicans, but we're talking about Dems and independents here. She was absolute COVID hawk, which is fine with Democrats. And she's a Michigan governor, which is a very important swing state, which Joe Biden's now losing, thanks to, among other things, the whole Israel debacle. So she's very interesting. You'd have to pair her with the right person. I don't know. There are some more moderate candidates out there that they're throwing around, but all of them are white men. They just can't do it. It cannot be a white man in the Democratic Party, period. Raphael Warnock, as I mentioned, from Georgia, yes, he's a black man. He's been in politics for 2 minutes, and he's the guy who ran over his wife's foot when he was running for this post. And as the ex-wife came out, he's got all sorts of baggage with his ex. I don't think they want that, ball of wax. Why bother, right? Like when you have so many other candidates. So I think the field is rather slim, but I guess if I had to put my money down on somebody, it would be, as they call her, Big Gretch.
I mean, one of the problems they've got is the vetting process is going to be naturally very truncated. Whoever they go for will suddenly be exposed to the massive glare of a media in full throttle assault mode with months to an election. And there aren't many human beings who could withstand that if they haven't previously been experienced with it, right? I mean, it's a really ferocious forensic examination.
Yes, and all of Trump's foibles and most of Biden's have already been baked into the current cake. So that you're right. And I forgot to mention Gavin Newsom. Now, he's a far left progressive, and Bill Maher just came out in favor of him. But he's the most radical Democrat in America. Honestly, his politics may be left of the squads. He would be a hard no for most of those independents. And you can't win the presidency with your own party alone. You've got to persuade a certain amount of the independents to come your way. As soon as they tell independents what Gavin Newsom has done, I don't care how good his hairline is, they're going to say no. It's not another JFK. This guy is really, he's an AOC squad member kind. So I don't think he'll make it either. But yes, there will be a withering press examination by those on the right, but those on the left, Piers, and that's most of the media, will run cover for this person, whomever it is. As much as they're beating down on Joe Biden right now, that same press corps is going to raise this person up as the second coming, whoever it is, because it must be their savior from Trump. And that person will benefit greatly from that ubiquitous fawning coverage.
And I agree with that, but I want to know what you think. My hypothesis that if Joe Biden doesn't step aside within the next week or maybe two, that very same mainstream media will be right back on the Joe Biden horse. They'll be pushing Joe Biden so that they can prop him up in order to beat Trump, right? Because that's their main goals. They want to stop Trump. They want to beat Trump. They got to get Trump, which is a great example of how unprincipled these people are. They don't want what's best for the country. They just want to make sure that a Democrat is in office, and you got to wonder why.
I mean, we're assuming Biden is going to be replaced. It's not happened yet. And of course, if he digs his heels in and says, I'm not going anywhere, then it may be they can't do it, under the rules of the Democratic Party. Where does Jill Biden sit in all this, Dr. Biden? Because I watched that debate from start to finish with a mounting sense of real bemusement why any spouse, a younger spouse in particular, would allow their older, beloved other half to be humiliated like that on a global stage. And she must have known that this was highly likely to happen, because from all the reports now coming out, as the media finally takes its blinkers off, this is not a one-off. This has been what he's been like quite regularly in the last few months and 2 years or so. What do you think of Jill Biden's role here and her responsibilities?
I think she's been exposed as a power-hungry aspirant herself to political power. She is on the cover of Vogue magazine right now.
Yeah.
Why? Because she wants to promote herself. She tweeted out a photo of herself sitting in the president's chair not long ago when he was preparing for the G7 meeting with his chair hanging over the back of his chair. She's not the damn president. Get out of the chair. No one wants you at the G7. No one elected you to lead us politically. And a couple of years ago, I did a bit that went viral on how she insists on being called Dr. Jill Biden everywhere. And all these left wingers got upset with me. She is a doctor. She's got her PhD. She's in education, what have you. I don't make fun of that degree. My own father had that degree. But my father would never have insisted somebody call him Dr. Kelly. He went by professor, and that was a title he'd earned. Why does she insist on it? Because she's power hungry. Because she has a small, fractured ego that she needs built up. She needs the affirmation of strangers to give her an honorarium. That really means almost nothing. The only people who get to be called doctor legitimately, I understand, no disparaging of the degree, are medical doctors. If you can't say, yes, I will resuscitate him when he has a heart attack on a plane, stop using that label. When you get introduced at a book club or on The View, which is what she does, all right? And I do think it's tied to what we're seeing now, the big reveal about her. She's power hungry. She wants it. What did we see from her on debate night? We saw her take the stage and guide the president of the United States down the stairs like a mama would of a toddler, like you and I both did when our kids were babies. And then after the debate, that clip that was everywhere with her saying, you did it. You answered all the questions. Again, speaking to her the way I speak to my dog when he sits on command.
It really was.
This is the leader of the free world.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
You know, I'm still waiting for them to let us know what it was that Trump actually lied about during the debate. There's plenty of compilation videos of Joe looking like a dumbass, but there isn't one that I've seen of Trump and all the lies, which makes me think and believe that that's just a lie that the mainstream media and Jill Biden keeps trying to push on the people.
She knows how infirm he is. She wants a shadow presidency. And let me tie it to one other thing. The reports are out this week that Hunter Biden,
I know, this is incredible that he's advising him.
Is at the White House and attending all the meetings with the president.
A
As
crackhead.
what? Our new shadow president? Right, exactly. Because Joe Biden can't do it. And so on deck is the drug-addled, corrupt felon son? Hard no. This whole family needs to be bounced out of this office. And I think even the Democrats are starting to realize it.
Do you know what's incredible, Megyn, is that since that debate, you know the person we barely heard from or been talking about is the one person everyone assumed we'd be talking about 24/7, Donald Trump. And when you think about the trajectory here, a year ago, I was interviewing Ron DeSantis down at the Governor Mansion in Tallahassee in Florida because he was the one flying high. He was the one who was the golden boy of the Republican Party. Trump was dead and buried. It was all over. And it was around that time, a little bit earlier, sort of February, March of last year, it was around that time that they started all the legal efforts to go after Trump. And from that moment, two things happened. Poor old Ron DeSantis got completely sidelined. And the Trump train, which was on the sidings, tipped up on its side, thinking that's it, suddenly got put back on the tracks and is now steaming ahead, almost inevitably back to the White House. I've never seen a reversal in fortunes quite like what's happened to Trump, or a bigger self-inflicted wound by an opposition party than the one they did to themselves by deciding that they couldn't beat him at the ballot box, so they were going to destroy him legally and try and put him in jail. It's been, I mean, as a lawyer yourself, it's been a spectacular act of self-harm, hasn't it?
All great points. The two huge acts of self-harm, the lawfare against Trump and the agreement to do this debate.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessary. They easily could have said, we don't debate convicted felons.
Right.
He didn't do the debates in the primaries, and we're not debating him. It would be beneath the office of the presidency to participate in any platforming of that man. And his entire base, and probably most independents, would have said, well, we expected it. They didn't have to do it. They actually thought he could get out there. Do you remember Joe Biden out there a couple months ago? Make my day, pal.
Yes.
He released a video challenging Trump to do this debate. Make my day. I hear you free on Wednesdays, because he was in the midst of that New York trial when they had Wednesdays off. The brashness, you know, the attempt to be the new John Wayne out there, like, well, I'll see you at the corral, little sucker. You know, as long as it's between the hours of 11 and 4, which is the only hours that he works, according to the papers. So he gets out there and completely falls apart. Another self-inflicted wound after he, you know, it's like he had jumped off the building and somehow he managed to shoot himself on the way down. That's really what he did. And the lawfare against Trump has been a spectacular failure. My God, it's been amazing to watch Trump pull the inside straight on it. Not only did the American people revolt when this tactic was unleashed for the first time in our history, they know who we are. They know we're not a banana republic, that we don't settle our political disputes like this.
Yeah.
So they revolted, and Trump's numbers went through the roof with Republicans. But bit by bit, they have shown they either don't care about the charges against him, like in the Stormy Daniels hush money documentation thing in New York, or they're over it. They care about January 6th, but they're over it. They've had an impeachment hearing on that. They've had the January 6th hearings on that. Their judgment has been settled already, pronounced already. We don't need a federal trial on it. So that one just died, thanks to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's all but dead. It's limping, but it's dead. The Mar-a-Lago case will go forward unless Trump wins, and then he can just pull the DOJ off of it. He'll be the president. He gets to just say, stop. The New York case is over, but for sentencing, which it's not going to be severe. If there's a jail sentence, it will be suspended. Trump's not going to serve any time in jail. None at all. And the Atlanta case got stopped thanks to Fani Willis hopping in the sack with their co-counsel and getting out there playing the race card, saying we were all racist for pointing out what a conflict of interest this was. That's going up on appeal now. All proceedings have been stopped. He did it, Piers. He did it. And while Joe Biden is out there on a stump speech right now saying, when you get knocked down, you get back up. That's Trump's story. That's not Joe Biden's story. And again, the American people know it.
And it reminded me a bit of Mike Tyson's famous quote, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. I think Biden and his team spent a week at Camp David meticulously planning answers to every question. But the one thing they forgot was it was past his bedtime and he was incapable of articulating any comprehensible response to almost anything. And Trump didn't even have to physically punch him in the face or metaphorically punch him in the face. He just had to stand there and throw him looks of bemusement. And at one stage, something I'd never seen, a look of almost concern for this elderly guy, right, just dying on stage.
Literally and politically. And with that, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap this one up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video. That really helps me out. And otherwise, have a good 4th of July weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next one.